So, I just got done playing about 5 hours of the latest patch, the enemies update for the last spell, and I wanted to talk about some of my thoughts and experiences. So, without further ado, let's chat about it. So, first, there are four new enemies. The blocker quite intuitively blocks. This enemy is called the blocker for two reasons. They have a high block stat, and they block your line of sight. I think that this is going to be really interesting. I only encountered them kind of early on, but as they start to become more tanky and they're blocking line of sight, I think they could create some really interesting gameplay space. So, very excited about the blocker. Next up is the Hunter. This enemy has a long distance line of sight, ignoring high damage attack, and will try to focus backline heroes as much as possible. As a counterpart, they are one of two new enemies with the charge mechanic, so this dangerous attack will take 2 turns to complete. Again, love the design space that they're exploring here with the charge mechanic. Basically, the way that it works is this character, which I'm going to call the sniper for lack of a better, I mean, they're called the hunter, but they're essentially a sniper. And what happens is if there is one of your units within like 10 range, I think, they will root themselves in place, and by rooting themselves in place, the next turn they have the ability to use an empowered attack. It's very cool because it gives you a lot of counterplay, right? You can get out of range of them, etc. The first time that I encountered them, 2 of them charged up, I moved back, and then they blasted a tree for a bajillion damage. But really cool. I think charge is brilliant, and very excited to see how they play with it more. This particular unit seems pretty low hit points, so pretty squishy, a bit of a priority target, but also very easy to play around. Hopper. This is by far the most confusing enemy in the new batch, in my opinion, although I haven't seen the next one. But the Hopper is the first enemy that can inflict poison damage on the hero. It's a mechanic we wanted to try out and potentially expand on in future updates. Additionally, they can buff their allies' resistance stat as an action during their turn or when they are killed. So they are reverse boomers. When they die, they buff the enemies around them. They buff them with resistance, so diminish the damage that you take, that they take. And I never saw them poison because they are, again, relatively squishy. Unlike boomers that have pretty large health pools, these guys seem to die very, very quickly. I think it's an interesting unit. I kind of wish that upon death they didn't buff. I find it weird that they buff or surrounding units on death. But anyways, think it's very interesting. Cool space to explore. I think they could use a buff. They felt very non-impactful in the game that I played where I saw them. Last but not least, I have not yet seen the Twisted, but interesting unit concept. This Fallen Mage is a late game enemy that you will, for the time being, only find in Glenwall. They can buff the move speed of multiple enemies at once, and like the Hunter, they have a charged attack that can be incredibly dangerous. So my understanding is they have a Boomer-esque AoE that they can drop when they are charged up, and in the meantime, they will be buffing the movement speed and other attributes of enemies around them. I think it's a cool concept. I made it as far as Night 8 in Glenwald and did not see them. So maybe they're only like the final night. Unclear. So we already talked about the 4 new enemies. The elite enemy system, super, super cool. So this is basically like versions of the enemies that we already know, but much tankier, and they come with one modification. During our playthroughs, we saw Mirror, Misty, Energetic, I believe. Basically, the concept is they will have one of these modifiers. Maybe at some point they'll have multiple, and they modify the way that the enemy plays. They have a lot of hit points. The first elites that we saw, I think, had 1,300 hit points, so takes serious work to kill them. Aura is going to give everyone around them something. Reinforced is going to, I don't fully understand because I haven't seen it yet, but maybe they're going to buff other units and permanently enhance stats. Mirror is like thorns, so you take damage when you attack them. It is mitigated by your armor, and it was like 20 damage when we encountered it. Misty is like mist sensors but moving. This one messes with you. So basically it makes them a forced priority target because they can be ushering in a whole bunch of baddies with them. And then energetic basically gives a second movement and attack phase to certain enemies. I think this could be very devastating if you don't get it in check, because it makes the enemy potentially very mobile and with 2 attacks. And then regeneration, self-explanatorily, allows an enemy to regen over time. It seems like they're on fixed days at Lakeburg and Glenwall, and for now, not everybody has an elite version, but at some point they may. The wound system. Love this change. Absolutely love it. So basically, wounds have always existed as your character's life is depleted, so on and so forth. Now there is an icon, a little blood drop that indicates it both on enemies and on heroes. That's kind of the final one. The wound threshold scales with max health. I think this makes sense. I could also see it being problematic because it does hurt you if you have a very large health pool. Maybe it doesn't. I'm not sure. Haven't tried that one out yet. I generally try and avoid taking damage. And basically, different enemies will do different things when they're wounded. I really am interested to see if at some point they take the wound system and also make it so certain enemies are stronger because of their wounds. I think that would be a really cool concept. Under items, community suggestion: when health, mana, armor, action points, move points, etc. values change, the current value changes from the exact same offset. This is important because historically, taking off a piece of hit point or mana gear would decrease your total hit points, and then if you put that piece of gear back on, you would not gain back the hit points that you just lost. This means that you can't heal with items, but you also can't shoot yourself in the foot by swapping gear around. Somebody's been dismissing a lot of heroes, so now there's a button for it. Not sure who they are. Ooh, I didn't talk about Potion of Cleansing either. Removes negative alterations. Might be useful for mitigating the poison that the Hopper gives. And then you can also now hide helmets, because sometimes we have awesome hairstyles and we want to show them off. Miscellaneous changes. Reroll button in the shop. It's in the upper left. I didn't actually check how much it costs, but I think it's great for it to be there. Historically, upgrading the shop was the best way to get rerolls. New option in the main menu to rewatch the intro screen. Cool. Health regen is now taken into account in the grade of the Knight's report panel. I think this just means that if you take damage, but it is less than the damage that you would have regened anyways, it doesn't penalize you. Seems good. Modding, now you can support more languages and fonts, which I think is great, but I think more importantly, hopefully it is them laying the foundation for more modding in the future, because I think that will be exceptionally cool. Quality of life stuff. Turbo mode. It's very frenetic and currently like aggressive, the way that you kind of like glitch around and stuff like that, but it's nice to be able to fast forward. Skipping animations in the report panel seems really nice. Keyboard shortcuts for selecting characters. I think it's good. Use the F keys and you can select your different characters. I guess F1 through F6 because there are 6 characters you can potentially have. Poison damage is much more well communicated now. You get a green bar that tells you how much poison damage something is going to take compared to its overall life total. And you also have the advantage of if something is going to die of poison damage, it will get a little icon, a little green skull that tells you that thing is going to die. They also improved camera movements. Seems good. Moved where saves are stored. Optimized the game. I'm playing on a different computer, so I don't know how optimized we're talking. And then last little bits. Splitters do less damage with Shred and now have a single target ability. I think that's good. I haven't tried it out to see how much damage it does. Cursed replaced Curse with Magic Exhaustion. Drain 3 mana. I don't like the idea of getting my mana drained. I don't remember what Curse did, though. So, unsure on that one. Reduced the number of enemies in Elite Waves. Seems smart. And then Holy Ring now has Cleanse. think that might be good. Anyways, those are the changes. I so far am absolutely loving the new patch. Feel free to swing by my YouTube to see videos of me playing the new patch. The first one will go live today, and then there'll be all of the ones moving forward will be on the new patch, or I'll be live playing it a couple times a week on YouTube at around 7 p.m. Eastern. So for now, that's about all she wrote on the patch. Seems like a great one. I think the devs are doing early access right, and I'm very excited about it. And yeah, hope to see you on the interwebs. Have a good one, everybody. Bye.